From the top of the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Kingdom of Nye Radio, Revolution Radio, and brand new tonight, we are live on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning us in. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read Tonight, join the SOR Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by donating to Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Best-selling author Terry Lovelace is a 64-year-old lawyer and former assistant attorney general. In 2012, a routine X-ray found an anomalous bit of metal the size of a fingernail with two tiny wires attached to it inside his body. We're going to get into that tonight. Terry's book, Inside a Devil's Den, tells his true account of a hostile alien abduction in June of 1977. While on active duty in the United States Air Force, Terry and a friend were wilderness camping in the Arkansas State Park when this incident occurred. To get the book, go to Terry's website, which is terrylovelace.com. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I am going to bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Terry Lovelace, it was such a pleasure to meet you just a couple of weeks ago at UFOCon 2020. You're a hell of a gentleman. I am so excited to bring your story to our listeners tonight. Thank you for taking the time.
Likewise, I appreciate the opportunity.
Terry, let's learn a little bit about you. You're an educated man. You're a former lawyer, or a current lawyer, former attorney general, I believe, in the state of Vermont. And this is something that people of your education, of your stature, of your place in the community aren't supposed to be talking about aliens and UFOs, man.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is something I kept secret for 40 years. Just between my wife and I retired from the law in 2012. I got the opportunity to retire early, and I took it. And retired in January. In October, I had some pain in my leg. I went to the I get all my health care through the VA. So I went to the VA, and they x-rayed my leg. And I had what was called a Baker cyst. Nothing to do with baking. It was, found by a guy named Baker. Nothing to do with any of the odd things in my leg. It's just like a cyst thing that I developed, and it's benign, and it, makes it difficult to walk for a couple of weeks, and it goes away on its own. But when they were x-raying my leg, they found two anomalies. They found this thing that looks like a computer chip with the wires attached above my knee. And then below my knee in my calf muscle, there's an arrangement of about 6 little tic-tac-like items in a floral pattern. And I'll tell you, when I saw that X-ray, I had no intention of ever really writing a book or going public with this. But let me back up just a bit. I was a runner all my life. Gave it up in about 2005. I walk now. So, but over those 40 years that I ran, about every time I would hit the 2-mile mark in my run, there was a spot above my knee and lateral to the right that would go completely numb. And it was, about an inch in diameter, and it was perfectly round. And I could take a pin and, delineate the edges of it. And I asked my doctor, I said, I got this weird thing that goes numb in my knee when I run, when I hit my 2-mile mark, give or take 50 yards. And she's like, it's probably some hystemic type reaction. She said, I wouldn't worry about it. So I didn't. And then I saw that X-ray, and it kind of, it was like a slap in the face. It really came home that these things had put their hands on me. And that was just a turning point. So prior to this, I'd had, 40 years worth of nightmares,
Yes.
PTSD like symptoms, intrusive thoughts, flashbacks, those type of things. But seeing the X-rays really, really changed things and motivated me to write a book and tell people. And if my peers in the legal community think I'm crazy, I don't care. This is the truth, and it's a truth that should be told. People should know.
Terry, prior to this incident in Arkansas in 1977, what did you know about UFOs?
A little. When I was 8 years old, I was living in St. Louis, Missouri, kind of in an urban environment, South St. Louis City, brick row houses. And I'm in the backyard, and I'm playing with this bow and arrow or something, and I'm loading an arrow into the notch of the bowstring. And this is a crowded neighborhood. I mean, it's a nice May day, and women are out hanging up laundry, and kids are running around, and there's dogs, and there's cats, and there's cars, and it's loud. And I look down, and I see this perfect circular shadow move across my feet. And I look up, and directly over my head is this aluminum or highly polished metal saucer that's about 30 feet in diameter, about 50 feet over my head. And it was just wobbling a little bit in the breeze. And I was just awestruck. I thought, wow, it was beautiful in the way, a new Alfa Romero is on a showroom floor. It was just spectacular to look at. And I remember feeling really badly. I couldn't see that. I really wanted to see the top of it, And so that and when as soon as I looked up, I had a weird auditory change, and it felt like I put my hands over my ears, and all of the sounds of the neighborhood were muffled. And I don't know how long I looked at it, but I just stared at it in awe. And then it kind of listed a little bit and shot off to clear the power lines and went from like 0 to 500 miles an hour, and it's gone. And the second it took off, all of the auditory, all the sounds came back to normal, just came flooding in. And I screamed, "Mom!" And my mother comes out, thinking I probably, shot a neighbor in the head with an arrow or something. And, she comes out, she checks me for blood because I'm hysterical, and I'm told later. And she said I wouldn't stop screaming. And I guess that's true because my throat was sore afterward. And I'm like, "Mom, did you see it? Did you see it? It was really cool. It was a flying saucer like you see on TV." And I was a pretty straight kid. I mean, I didn't lie. I didn't make up stuff. And she says, "Terry, I don't know what you saw, but you did not see a flying saucer." So she had to get out an encyclopedia and go through dirigibles and, airplanes and jets and, was it this, was it that? I'm like, no. Well, can you draw it? Sure. Give me a piece of paper. I drew a circle and handed it back to her. So then my dad got involved. That's incredible. And he said, you can't tell people. I mean, this is, 1963. It's a little bit of a different time. And he says, you can't tell people you saw a flying saucer. They'll think there's something wrong with you. They'll think there's something wrong with us,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can, and take us back to that time where, that's actually a real important statement that you just made, Terry, that your dad said that people will think there is something wrong with us. I mean, for us now, we can understand that, but the UFO aspect of everything is really coming to fruition where a lot more people are believing. But go back 45 years, that wasn't the case, was it?
No, not at all. And it's kind of a contradiction because on television you had My Favorite Martian and Lost in Space and cartoons like Space Ghost and My Favorite Martian. There were a lot of UFO themed sitcoms and television shows, but they were like my Uber driver said, taking me to the airport to come to San Francisco. He says, "Oh, UFOs, that's comic book stuff." And I think that was kind of the mentality that it was just all fiction. And people are coming to learn that it's not all fiction.
Did your parents ever come around?
No, they never did. Although my dad, would never admit it, but he had a fascination with UFOs. And when I was about 12, there was a UFO sighted over St. Louis, Missouri, and it was. I saw it. My dad saw it. It was. It looked like it was shaped like a 7-Up bottle, and it was green like a 7-Up bottle, and it was glowing, and it was in the air, and it was. I'm not good at. I don't know how big it was, so it's difficult to say how high it was. But it wasn't moving like a balloon. It was moving like, erratically, like outside the bounds of physics, erratically. And we only saw it for a few seconds, and it shot off. But that was pretty cool. Of course, my dad was convinced it was something from the Russians, or at least,
of course,
that's what he told me. Yeah, I think he knew better.
Terry, how long, do you consider yourself an experiencer?
I consider myself an abductee, and I know it's just, a slight difference. A lot of people prefer that. I prefer to say to be an abductee, just because I think it's more accurate. I was taken against my will, and that's an abduction or a kidnapping under the law, whatever you want to call it. It's a crime. And I was abducted. Granted, it was what I experienced in 1963 in my backyard at St. Louis with the flying saucer. That was an experience. That was a visual and an auditory and just an overwhelming experience. And had that been my only experience, then I think it'd be safe to call myself an experiencer. But my interaction with ET went to the next step. And 1977, my friend and I were abducted. And so that's why I prefer the term abductee.
I'm an abductee as well. And, that is something that I don't know if I'm proud of it or not. It's one of those cool beer conversations on a Friday night when there's nothing left to talk about. Let me tell you, I'm sure you know about that all too well. But is this something that you, over the years, because of your position and your place in the law as a lawyer and then as a former assistant attorney general, that you really had to keep quiet over?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a secret my wife and I shared. I've been married to my wife. We got married, young, and we've been married 45 years. She was with me whenever I was abducted. Well, we were together. She
really?
Wasn't with me. Yeah. So she knows what I came home and what I was like, and she's been with me for the 2 or 3 screaming nightmares I have every year. Where I wake up sweating and have to turn every light on in the house. And so yeah. It's also good validation-wise to have someone that can attest to the validity of what I went through. Because she was there. Like I say, she was there for support.
Was she an ET abductee before meeting you?
No. As a matter of fact, she's only had one experience, and that was in 1987. And she woke up and reached over and noticed I wasn't in bed. And she looked out at the foot of the bed, and silhouetted against the window was this, what she took to be a 3.5-foot tall Asian woman. And she wasn't freaked out. I mean, normally she would yell intruder or pull a gun out or something. But no, she was perfectly calm. And this woman spoke to her telepathically. And my wife swears she heard her voice just with crystal clarity in her skull, in her head. She heard this woman say, "Everything's fine. Go back to sleep." And that's what she did. She went back to sleep.
My goodness. How often have the experiences happen?
Like I say, that's her one and only, other than I've seen a lot of UFOs. I've photographed a lot of UFOs. I see them in the sky sometimes, and I'll point them out to her. Sometimes she sees them. Sometimes she can't see them, which I don't understand. But as far as abduction scenarios, 1977 was it. With the exception maybe of April 16th of 2019, I had an odd event. I sleep with my iPhone in my pocket of my T-shirt at night, and I hook it up to some headphones, and I listen to, meditation stuff off of YouTube, and because my battery's bad, I keep it plugged into the wall, and I woke up the morning of April 16th, 2019, just woke up freaked out, in a sweat, and out of breath. I mean, like I just run 100 yards. And I told my wife, I think I'm having a heart attack. And she called an ambulance, and the guys got there, and they took my blood pressure. It was like 220 over 110. My pulse was, tachycardic through the roof. And they put me in the ambulance, gave me some oxygen, took me to the hospital. And the docs there did the usual thing, because I'd had a heart attack in 2005, so I know the drill, EKG, cardiac enzymes, and do a couple tests. But by the time I get to the hospital, my pulse rate's back to normal, my blood pressure drops to normal, and I have my breath again, and all my tests came back negative. So they had no explanation for what happened to me. And kept me for about 6 hours for observation, and then sent me home. When I got home later that evening, I told my wife, I said, I feel well enough. I'm going to go out and do my walk. It was about 7:30 in the evening. I said, I'm going to go out and walk a mile and a half. So I pulled my cell phone out of my pocket. And for the first time, I looked at my health app, my iPhone health app. And like most people have a health app of some kind on their phone that measures their steps. Well, mine measures your steps, measures the stairs that you climb. And then, like for stairs, it shows a grid, with the y-axis on the left being elevation, with little boxes indicating 10 feet in height. And then the x-axis, the bottom line, going from left to right, indicates passage of time. So I look at my phone, and I was surprised because I saw stairs climbed. And I live in a ranch in Texas with no basement. I don't have any stairs, And my phone says 6 flights of stairs. And I'm like, what? And then I look at the graph, and at 5:24 a.m., there's a bar that goes straight up that shows that I climbed 6 flights of stairs, or was 60 feet over my house, between 5:23 and 5:24 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't wake up until 5:55, 31 minutes later.
Where'd you go?
I don't know if I sent you that or not, but I've got the health app. I've got the medical bills, to prove that I had the experience. But yeah, I think something happened to me then. And, first time in a long, long time.
When something like that happens, Terry, what goes through your mind? How do you feel about having this? You're a man of questions. You've asked a lot of questions over the years in hundreds of courtrooms. So when you have something like this come up, as we got about 3.5 minutes here before we go to break, how do you deal with it?
At first, I'm angry. I'm angry because you snatched me out of my bed. You made me think I'm having a heart attack. It cost me $800 in medical bills. But then again, part of me wonders, and I've had a hypnotic regression with a board-certified psychiatrist here in Dallas, and he regressed me because I really wanted to find out what happened to me that night. And in the regression, I recounted going through the roof, going through the ceiling, out into the air, and going above my house. And it was twilight. It wasn't quite dawn yet. It was still, a little dark outside. And directly over my head was a large saucer, and the bottom of it opened like a camera lens would open. And I went inside of it. And that's when I stopped. And he said, we'll do some more in another session. Because to get to that point took a little bit of time, and it was kind of, it was interesting, but it was kind of traumatic in a way. That's the first time I'd ever been regressed, and it was interesting and frightening, and I'm not sure that I want to do it again, but, I think I probably should. When it's different when I see if I'm walking down the street and I see a UFO, I'm kind of like, hey, how you doing? I mean, up in the air, they're benign. But as you know, to be abducted is something different. And
I do. And, the weird part about it is, for people who don't understand, I'm sure you'll attest, as we got just over a minute to go, is that sometimes it comes in dreams, sometimes it comes in some sort of reality that your mind is storing. Do you think these episodes, whether they are either dreams or you're experiencing what you're seeing, do you think that they sometimes cover up what is going on? With false memories?
Absolutely. I think there's the reality we see, and then, behind the thinnest of veils, there's, a whole lot going on that human beings aren't equipped. We don't have the sensory ability to see, So, yeah, I think that's right. I do.
It is interesting. When we come back from the break here, I want to ask you, what made you decide to go public? What made you decide to write this book? What made you decide to come out as an experiencer? Because there's a lot of people out there, and I'm sure many are your colleagues who probably said, "What the hell happened to Terry? What's with him doing this? Why would he do this? Has he just plain lost it?" And I want to ask and find out about that, Terry. So I'm going to get you to hold on right now, because we're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour on Spaced Out Radio. Terry Lovelace, inside a Devil's Den. We're going to learn all about his experiences coming up in the next half hour on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thor, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
we're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hello everyone. This is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thankfully, the snow didn't come today, as it had the previous 3 days. I'm getting sick of the white stuff. It's March. I want flowers. I want blooming. Oh, no, not yet. Not yet. Still sitting under a foot plus of snow. Anyhow, want to remind all of you that if you want to do me a favor and sign up for our YouTube channel, we are now live on every show starting tonight, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. All of our archives are there free for you as well. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Make sure you check it on out. We got a plethora of features for you, so make sure you check them on out. Like Bumblefoot, you can rock out to him. You can read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and much, much more. Tonight we are talking with a great, great dude, man. I met this guy just a couple of weeks ago. Terry Lovelace is his name, and we're talking about some strange experiences that he has had leading into his book, Inside Devil's Den. And Terry, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate being here.
I want to ask you this, continuing on from where we were the last half hour. What made you come out? Why was it important for you to finally say, look, this happened to me. I want to know what's going on, and I'm now going to go public. I don't care what people think.
It was seeing that X-ray. It was the X-rays that I saw. And I should go into a little more detail about that. You know, I had this X-ray technician, take a couple shots of my leg, and she's like, have you been in an accident or something, or had a shrapnel wound? And I'm like, no, I've never went overseas. And she says, well, you got a piece of metal in your leg, and it looks like wire. And I said, well, I'd like to see it, please. Can you pop it up on a view box? I'm not a doctor, but I can see wire on an X-ray, I think. So she popped it up on the view box, and I didn't see it at first. But you don't need to be an MD to see this. She pointed it, and it was right there. And seeing that thing there, I realized that it was, in a spot in my leg that, as I mentioned earlier, that would go completely numb about the 2-mile mark in my run. And that was kind of validation. I started running in 1979, so that thing had been in my leg since at least 1979. And they called a radiologist down because she said, I've never seen anything like this. And radiologist comes in the office, to the X-ray room. It's dark. He comes in, and he's kind of overly confident. He strolls over, looks at the X-ray, and says, well, you've been in an accident. He says, you can't get a piece of a foreign body this size into your tissue and your fascia without there being a scar. You breach the integrity of the skin, and it's going to leave a scar. And I said, well, Doc, I don't have any scars. And he said, oh, yes, you do. It may have happened early in your childhood, but there has to be. So he examined my leg, and he was wigged out. He was. And I asked him, I said, Doctor, how often is it that you find a foreign body like this under the skin and there not be a corresponding scar? And he said, never. He said, I've been a radiologist for 23 years. I don't know how this thing got into your body. So that, that really drove home the fact to me that whatever this thing was, I picked it up in 1977 at Devil's Den, probably. And then when I started, running, that it made itself known. And the doctor said, there's one other X-ray you should see. And he took down the one where you can see the thing that looks like an electronic device. That's of my knee from a straight-on angle. And he took another picture of my knee bent, lying flat on a slide. And so from the side view, he pops the X-ray up and he says, you've got this odd array of items here in your calf muscle. And he said, I look at the I look at them and I can see that they're about the density, same density as bone tissue, but I think not. I'm like, why? What do you mean you think not? And they do look weird. They do look really out of place. And he said, well, first of all, I've never seen bone sprout in the middle of muscle tissue, much less, arrange itself in this symmetrical pattern. He said, I don't know what you got here, but I don't know how these things got into your body. I don't know what they are. And I was just stunned. I was just absolutely stunned. And I wrestled with that, and that triggered the return of the nightmares. And I got copies of my x-rays, which took me 90 days, and I had to threaten to take the VA to federal court to get them. But I finally got copies of my x-rays in digital form.
Were they edited?
I'm glad you asked that question. There is the Veterans Administration has a thing called My Healthy Vet, and I explain this in my book, Incident at Devil's Den, that there was a radiologist report posted for my leg that mentioned anomalies above and below the knee, with a diagnosis of rule out Baker cyst, something, abnormal knee. And it alluded to the first radiologist report, which was posted about a week after the x-rays, said that it identified these anomalies above and below my knee. And unfortunately, my printer was broken. I didn't print it. I should have. And a week later, that one goes down. That radiology report disappears, and another radiology report from a different radiologist takes its place. This one makes no mention of the objects above or below my knee. It just says, rule out Baker cyst, AP, lateral, blah, 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 but makes no mention at all of the things above and below my knee. And I thought that was very, very interesting. And I got my medical records, but I couldn't find that original radiologist report. Now, I did a little bit of looking at CMS rules that govern, hospital conduct and how you're supposed to do things. And, if you write a second radiology report and there was a first, you have to reference the first one. You have to say it's an amended, or a second radiology report or a second opinion. And it doesn't say that. There's no reference to there being another report. And I just find that very suspect.
Did your implant move around, or was it completely stationary?
I think it was completely stationary because it stayed in the same spot. I mean, I'm assuming that's what made my knee go numb. So that never moved around. The things below my knee, by the way, the things below my knee, there was a guy at the conference in San Francisco, 2 weeks ago or so, that could scan for implants.
Yes.
And he scanned my leg, and my leg, the calf muscle of my leg is highly magnetic.
That's strange.
That's what he said. He says they can, he said, quote, they can magnetize anything. I'd had an experience right after this when I decided I was going to write Incident at Devil's Den, and I decided I was going to go speak publicly. I ran into the Kling brothers from San Antonio, Texas, who used to have a show called Ghost Lab. Yes. And they heard my talk, and they wanted to film me. So I drove to San Antonio and went, and they got a little studio, and I told my story for them. And I had a microphone on my lapel, and my microphone fell off and fell on my knee. And I was going to pick it up, and the sound guy presses his earphones against his ears and tells everybody, shh, be quiet. And it was laying right on my knee. And he says, I can hear mariachi music. And he starts laughing and he says, I'm getting a radio station, AM radio station from Mexico.
Out of your knee.
And it's coming from your knee.
You got to be kidding.
No, they have that on film.
What the Sam hell is that?
Yeah.
Honestly, that is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
It proves that it's not only receiving information, it's transmitting information. I mean, I think it does both. I don't know what it does. I don't think it does anything to benefit me.
Terry, why did you have to go to court in order to get your x-rays? Why would the Veterans Affairs not release them to you?
Well, I knew that there was some strange stuff on there, and I was worried that they would lose them, misfile them, something would happen to them. So the 2 days after my emergency room visit, I went down and I went to the records department and, filed the paperwork and said, I want to get copies of my x-rays. And long and the short of it is there was always a delay, this and that. And when we hit 90 days, I decided, there's enough of this. And I went down and I said, I need my x-rays and I need them in 72 hours or I'm going to file an action in federal court. And that got me my x-rays. Now, I don't know. They may have been overly burdened. They may have been, had stacks of requests for medical records, a foot deep and just working their way through them. But I don't know. I don't know. The VA is an entity of the federal government. And, I don't know what their official position is on this topic. I don't think anybody does. So I don't know.
Do you think that copies of your x-rays got sent elsewhere?
I have reason to suspect that. I only received 4 or 5 x-rays. I found out through the help of a doctor whose name I won't mention, was very kind to me and actually found out the VA had 24 views of my knee. And by obtaining those, he was able to triangulate the 2 different images from 2 different angles and triangulate where the thing was underneath my skin and verify that it was indeed, about 2.5 inches under my skin.
So 24 images, you only got 8 of them.
Yes.
What do you think happened, or did you investigate what happened to those other 16? I
did. They were, quote, discarded.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think they went somewhere.
And unfortunately, you have to take their word at it. Like you have no choice.
I don't know what else to do. But, I know this, that when they put my x-rays up on the view box, the PA who was a physician's assistant who was taking care of me, I guess was concerned that I was so long in the x-ray room. She comes in, she looks at the x-rays, and she's like, oh, cool. And then these medical people start filtering in, and pretty soon there's about a dozen people in there looking at my x-rays, kind of oohing and ahhing over them,
So this was, do you think you caught the doctors off guard with what was in your knee?
Oh, no question. I caught the radiologist off guard. Yeah. 23 years of looking at x-rays, and he said he's never seen anything like that before.
Did you ask him to guess what it was, Terry?
Well, we did. We had that conversation about when he thought that the things below my knee were bone. And his words for the thing above my knee was, "This looks like a man-made, manufactured product. It's a product." He said it looks like an electrical device of some kind with two wires plainly attached to it. He said, "I don't know what it is, but and I don't know how it got it." Oh, he said, I asked him, I said, "Well, if I don't have a scar, how did this thing get into my leg?" And he said, "By some means not known to medical science." And I think that kind of sums it up as far as he was concerned.
What was going through your mind when this is happening? The radiologist is calling in people to come take a look at this. You know, you have no idea what is up. You just know that you have a numb knee. Yet here you are trying to figure out what all the commotion is.
Yeah, well, you know what? I had a pretty good idea that this related back to the abduction. You know, I was in the Air Force from 73 to 79. And this took place, the abduction took place in 1977. And I don't have a clear linear memory of what happened to me during my abduction. But I do have bits and pieces. A lot of it reaffirmed in nightmares and flashbacks. I didn't know what a flashback was. I called them intrusive thoughts. I'd be reading or watching TV or doing something, and suddenly an image would flash into my head. And I'm like, whoa, where'd that come from? And in 1987, I saw a therapist, and she gave me a test called a Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, or an MMPI. I was familiar with the test because my undergraduate degree is in psychology.
Right.
So I took the test, and I believe in the test. I think they're valid. And she diagnosed me with PTSD, etiology unknown.
Oh, wow.
And I explained in my book that, I didn't want to tell her I saw a UFO the size of Walmart,
Right. Right. I got to ask this question from Twitter, and normally I don't take questions in the first hour, but this one's just way too funny. Alcatraz Juan on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio is asking, Terry, currently is your knee Wi-Fi capable?
That's a good question. That's a great question. I hope so.
Man, you don't have to pay for Wi-Fi anywhere now. You just tap into the knee. You need a USB plug plugged into there.
Oh, it's so crazy. Yeah.
Well, we've only got about 4.5 minutes left before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Terry Lovelace is our guest tonight. Incident at Devil's Den is his book that you want to check out, and go to his website, terrylovelace.com, to pick it on up. Terry, with everything that's going on, how are you emotionally through this? You know, as you're getting this implant looked at, there's a lot of hustle and bustle around this, and you're putting the pieces together where you think you know where it's from, but that had to be mentally stressful for you.
It was. It was kind of a crisis type thing. I knew that I didn't want to go on with waking up screaming in the middle of the night, once or twice a month. I mean, for 40 years, I'd have these nightmares a couple times a year. So they were an inconvenience, but they weren't, weren't that bad. But after seeing this x-ray, I just could not get this thing out of my mind. And I wanted to get this thing removed from my knee. And I talked to surgeons, and the surgeons were like, look at the x-ray, and they're like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'll look at that. I'll take that out for you. But because I had a heart attack in 2005. I had a stent put in my heart in 2011. So because of my cardiac history, I needed a cardiac clearance letter for them to operate on me, and I couldn't get one. And the cardiologist says, look, these things are benign. They're not causing you any harm. It's a risk versus benefit analysis. And he said, hey, 100,000 guys walking around out there with shrapnel in their body. We don't take that out. We let it lie. And that's what this is like. So I could not get it taken out.
That's rough. Now, when you look at everything that you've gone through, especially over the last couple of years with about 2 minutes to go here, do you feel reconciled a little bit? Do you feel that the mystery is still continuing? What's going on with you?
I writing the book brought me a lot of peace. It did. And I really expected that I'd put it on Amazon and sell maybe 50 copies and feel better mentally. And it didn't work out that way. I sold 10,000 copies, and people just are interested in it. I put real quick, I put an email in the back of my book, and I said, if you've had an experience and you want to talk to me, email me, and I'll email you back. And every morning I get up and I make a pot of coffee, and I return those emails. I've gotten over 1,200, almost 1,300 emails from people since I put the book on the market. It'll be 2 years next month. So, it resonates with a lot of people. I think there's, probably a lot of people out there that have had the same experiences, childhood experiences and, experiences throughout life. And it resonates with people.
Well, and that's what we have to try and do. We have to try and resonate as a community, because there's a lot of people out there, Terry, as you now know, with all those hundreds of emails, that people are lonely. They want to know what's going on. They want to know that they're not alone in what they have gone through.
Oh my God. These I got a core of the 1,200. I got a core of about 800 emails that are just incredible stories. And it's funny. They all start off with now. Please don't think I'm crazy, or you're they always start off with that disclaimer. And then they go in and tell me these absolute marvelous stories that are just, I believe them. I absolutely believe them.
Well, Terry, without naming names, as we are about to go to commercial here, I'd love to hear a couple of those stories if you have them available, or just, off the top of your head, the ones that stuck out. That would be absolutely great. Terry, I'm going to get you to hold on right there as we're going to go to commercial here on Spaced Out Radio. Terry Lovelace is our guest tonight. Bestseller, Incident at Devil's Den, a book you definitely want to pick up. We're going to learn about Devil's Den as well. We'll take your questions here in hour number 2, coming up on the Mighty SOR.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get bumblefucked?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spicing up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at Kajans.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thieme. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to say hello to our terrestrial affiliates, our brand new one, KZAX 94.9 FM in Bellingham, Washington, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. Hi, Chuck. How you doing? Your goatee looks fantastic. WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. Don't forget to compliment Ryan on his beautiful hair. And UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Joe Montaldo has a great mane as well. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Kingdom of Nye Radio, Revolution Radio, and now live on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Don't forget, you can also find all of our archives there for free. The only thing we ask in return is hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Takisco-scope. Takisco-scope is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and much, much more. Tonight we are talking with best-selling author Terry Lovelace. He's got a great book out called Incident at Devil's Den. We're going to learn about this incident coming on up here. Terry, thank you so much for joining us. And right before the break, you had received hundreds of emails regarding people having their own experiences and their own topics of conversation when it comes to UFOs and ET contact. And there was many emotional people sending you letters because they felt they needed to reach out to you. Are there one or two that really stood out for you?
Yeah, let me run through the one that I was telling your YouTube audience. I can bring everyone up to speed real quick. 2 little girls, 9 and 11 respectively. They're playing at Grandpa's farm, and they're playing in the front yard. There's a 12-foot berm that divides the front yard from the backyard, because the backyard has a pond and they don't want the girls to go back there. These girls heard calliope music, like you hear from a circus or something.
Right.
And it's come, where it's coming from, of course. It's coming from the other side of the berm where they're not supposed to go. And Molly had the idea. She says, well, we can't go across the berm, but nobody said we couldn't stand on top and look. So they scampered up to the top of this berm, and she claims that they saw a carousel, with horses. Only it was 3 times bigger than any carousel she'd ever seen in her life. It was spinning really fast, and it was 3 feet off the ground because she could see the shadow underneath. And she said it had just a million lights all over it. And they could hear the music really loud. And she said she and her sister laid back and just were mesmerized by this thing. And then they're out. Well, then 4 hours pass, and the girls can't be found. So police are called, neighbors are called. A guy in a boat with poles is dragging the pond. They think maybe the girls have drowned.
Oh, my goodness.
They can't find them. They're nowhere to be found. So 4 hours later, It was actually the guy in the boat with the pole who saw them first. And he said he looked there, they weren't there, and then the next second they were there. And they were laying on the side of this berm, this mound of dirt, holding hands, and they were asleep. And he yelled, hey, I found them, and everybody comes running, and they go over to the girls and what happened? Where have you been? What? And the girls had no memory. So I don't know. We thought it was lunchtime. And but she said they changed. She said they went there as two little girls and came back two different people. She said that she had struggled with math all of her life. And after this event, which happened over summer vacation, she just was a math wizard and said, I loved it. I loved math. And she said, I don't understand how that could happen. Now, her sister, who I refer to as Molly, the younger one, started to have behavioral problems and ended up with, not having a great life. But the two of them never spoke about the incident, not once. And neither one of them had ever even tried, even to ask the other one. And her little sister Molly died of breast cancer in 1989, and she was at her bedside, and she asked Molly, do you want to talk about what happened at Grandpa's? And Molly said, no, absolutely not, and turned her head away, and passed away the next day. But I've got, lots of letters from people family members who experience something and won't talk about it. It's like a family secret or something. And I think I think their brains are hardwired not to talk about it because it doesn't make sense.
Do you think it's fear that if we talk about it, that we will have those experiences again? When I wrote this book, I wasn't fearful, but I felt guilty. And I recognized the emotion, and I thought, I have no reason to feel guilty. That's crazy. But I think that they can do something in our brain. I think they can control our minds. Maybe that's what the thing in my leg did. I don't know, but yeah, I had difficulty. I wrestled with it a little bit. So when you hear stories like that it's not just adults, but it's children who are being examined, if we can use that term lightly, does that open up, or did you expect children to contact you about their experience? I realize they're older now, but back then they were still children when this incident happened.
Hundreds. Well over 100. I've had,
really?
In my book, I explain when I was a little boy, I used to have these, this sounds laughable, I know. I used to have these 4 little circus monkeys appear in my room. And the one closest to my head would reach out a paw and say, take my paw, Terry, and come with us. We'll bring you back. We'll have fun. And that's one of the nightmares I've had all my life, or at least after that, was in the nightmare, the monkeys are there, and it holds out a paw, but it's not a paw. It's these 4 long, ugly fingers. And that just wigs me out. But I've had people write to me and tell me that they had owls in their room, deer, Disney characters, orbs of light, raccoons, what was that? Alf, the puppet Alf from,
yes.
Years and years ago. It validates that what these things can do is they can take on a form, an appearance, and appear to us in any way that they think will be palatable to a child. They can appear in a way that the child won't be so fearful.
Yeah, I think it comes to a whole new level when it involves children. And I think for a lot of us, your story about seeing monkeys in your room isn't that crazy at all. I remember when I was a child, we lived by a forest. There was a beautiful park in there, and there was a miniature forest of trees and a little hillside there, and there was always talk of the Green Man in there. And I just, it scared us because we were told don't go into the trees because weird things happen there at night. And, as a kid, I was only there for my first 7 years of life, but as a kid, I remember having dreams of this black creature that would be trying to get me and to take me. But as a kid, because I had a little bit of a vivid imagination and I always wanted to fly, I would just kind of flap my arms like a bird, like a kid always tries to do, and I would be able to take off and get away from this creature. So I don't know, maybe that's just a childhood nightmare, but after going through what I've experienced, and now hearing your story about that, it now makes me wonder whether or not there was something a little bit more to that. I got a question from YouTube, our YouTube chat room, coming in from the American one. Thank you so much for listening to us on our opening night broadcast on YouTube Live. Was sleep paralysis involved in any of these experiences of yours or people that you heard from?
I had people mention in their emails to me, this wasn't a dream, this wasn't sleep paralysis. So I had some disclaimers. I never had anybody write to me and said that they suffered from sleep paralysis. As far as if I suffered from sleep paralysis, I don't know. Maybe as a child I did. I certainly didn't suffer from sleep paralysis in 1977 because they took us out of a tent and, we were inside a craft and we were gone 4 hours, 4.5, something like that. Our watches, we had mechanical watches. This was 1977. Both of our watches had stopped right at 2:40, with give or take a minute. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever experienced sleep paralysis. Just night terrors, just nightmares.
Right. Couple more questions from our audience. We'll go to Joe, who is asking if you ever heard knocking or seen knocking at your window.
No, I haven't, but I've had a lot of people tell me that they had knocking and shadows, and a couple of people said they heard scratching in the wall. So I never experienced that. These monkeys that would appear in my room would be just from a twirl of shadows, and they would suddenly just manifest and ask me to go with them. It's like they were asking my permission, which I thought was odd. And I would think, did I go with them last time? And maybe I did. And this became a family issue because I was screaming with these monkeys, get out of my room. I'm screaming, Mom, Mom, and wake up my sisters and wake up the whole household. So this became a problem. And my parents took me to the doctor, and said, he's having all these nightmares. And the doctor says, well, what's he watching on television? Oh, Space Ghost and they rattle.
Always.
And the doctor says, well, you got to change that. That's just, you got to change his television viewing. So,
of course.
I no longer could watch Space Ghost, but I could watch all the Three Stooges I want. Mulder and
exactly.
Curly, got on everyone's last nerve after about 6 weeks. And I switched to Perry Mason and started watching that. I liked it.
All right, more questions coming in from YouTube. Roy Boy is asking, Terry, have you ever thought it was a government agency pretending to be aliens?
I have thought that. I have a theory about that, and that is that, I think they're aliens. I think aliens are real, whether they come from a distant star or they're interdimensional beings. But they come from somewhere else, but I think they're real, and I think they're either working shoulder to shoulder with our government in some kind of shared agenda, or we're in an agreement or a contract with them, a quid pro quo thing, where like they give us technology and we give them license to maybe take cattle now and then, or take human beings from state and federal parks, like David Paulides talks about in the Missing
Right.
411 series.
Yes.
And the third possibility is that we don't have a clue, and they can do whatever they want, whenever they want. So I don't know. I think it's one of those three. But yeah, they could be working in concert. Yeah, working together.
A. Bauman in YouTube land is asking if sleepwalking is also a factor in this. Have you noticed that?
I've never sleepwalked in my life. No.
Interesting.
Although I retrieved some drawings that I had in a storage locker up in Michigan. What I did was when I was going through this in 1978, I kept a journal and I recorded everything that happened to me. And that was invaluable in writing this book. I made sketches, I wrote, detailed notes, and I also got in the habit of journaling my nightmares because I recognized they were, scenes from being inside that craft, and they were the same. It was the same nightmares that would recur. And, once the nightmare would start, I couldn't pull myself out of it. It had to go to a conclusion, and then I'd wake up and scream and turn the light on and, go a little bit crazy.
All right, we're going to move on here because we only got about 5.5 minutes before we have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Shar is asking, in regression, did you see anything military?
No, I did not. In regression, I had a hard time relaxing and getting into a hypnotic state. And I know this psychiatrist. I actually met him at a MUFON meeting. He was a staunch denier, debunker. He said that he was trained medically, that people come in to tell him that they've had an experience with extraterrestrials, that, they're delusional. And he said that, in the past 10 years, he's talked to too many people with too many credible stories for this to be anything but truth. And then he started regressing people and getting stories like mine. Yeah. But there was no military in my abduction. It was just me going up through the roof and into this giant saucer that was over my house. And that's all.
I want to ask you, Terry, before I get to Joe's question, and we only got about 4 minutes until we go to the bottom of the hour break. Did you notice, or have you been able to sense astral travel?
I've had maybe 4 dreams in my life. And, think about it. I have people say, boy, I had this really weird dream when I was 5. Well, you remember this dream. What else do you remember from 5? I mean, all the birthdays, the Christmases, all the big events, and you remember this dream? I think that's pretty significant. And I lost my train of thought.
Just in regards to astral travel.
Yes, I've had 4 instances where I had dreams where I was flying and brilliant, vivid colors, and if I feel the air in my face, be above the ground, and I don't know what they were. I wish I could have one every night, but I've only had a couple in my lifetime, And I think those were out-of-body experiences. I really do. Or one heck of a lucid dream.
All right. Joe's question is, do you remember the aliens or monkeys instructing you not to say anything to anybody about your experiences?
No, never. No, I don't recall ever being told by beings not to talk about it. The Air Force had a different story. They didn't want me talking about it. But no, the aliens never did that. And you know what? I don't think they have to. I think if they don't want me to talk about it, they can wire my brain that way.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. I think they've done that to all of us. All of us. With about 2 minutes here to go before we go to break at the bottom of the hour, Terry Lovelace is our guest tonight. I want to start switching gears because this next segment of the show, I want to really get into the incident at Devil's Den back in 1977. And right off the bat, at the top of the show, I asked you, previous to 1977, what did you really believe in UFOs? Without going, we'll hit you up with a question of what happened right after that. But previous to this incident, what type of person were you? I know you were in the Air Force. What did you do there? Who were you?
I was a pretty straight kid. I mean, I had made good grades and decent grades in high school and grade school. I wasn't a problem child. I never got arrested. Met my wife when we were seniors in high school, and been together ever since. I went in the Air Force and was trained as a medic and an EMT. And that was the job that I was doing at the time that we got abducted. I was working in an emergency room as an EMT on the night shift from 11 till 7 in the morning with my friend in the book who I refer to as Toby or Tobias. And he was with me when we were abducted. And, I'll go into that after the break, I guess.
Absolutely, because we definitely got to hear that story, and I got to figure out, I'm writing it down right now. Does Toby talk about this? Don't answer that just yet. Don't answer that just yet. But we got to find out. We're going to find out what happened in 1997 at the incident at Devil's Den, which is the book that you could purchase from Terry. It's on his website, which is terrylovelace.com. He is a best-selling author. Over 10,000 sales on this book on Amazon. So make sure you check it on out. This is one of those good ones where it's a true tale. No Hollywood involved. More with Terry Lovelace right here on Spaced Out Radio. We're bringing you something new to the documentary world. Beyond the Spectrum will take you on an historic tour of topics like no other. Sasquatch, UFOs, government secrecy, and more, keeping you on the edge of your seats through the eyes of legendary truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Richard Dolan, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and Jack Casher. Head on over to Amazon Prime or Tubi TV and check us out. Please leave a comment for the filmmakers on their film's Amazon page.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time with us. Want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, or you want to watch us live now, you can follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button, and please, thumbs up for it. Thumbs up on the videos. I'd appreciate that. And of course, our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you that you can check on out while you're listening to the show. Terry Lovelace is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He has an incredible book that can be found on Amazon or his website, terrylovelace.com. It's called Incident at Devil's Den. We're going back to 1977 here now. And Terry, I would love for you to take us back to this infamous date.
I will. I was working a night shift with my my good friend and my coworker. We'd been, working together for a couple of years. We were EMTs, drove an ambulance. Anybody on the base had a heart attack or a plane had a problem and people got hurt. We went out and, picked them up and transported them back to the hospital. And one night, it's 2 a.m., we're playing hearts, there's nothing going on. And my friend says, I refer to him as Toby out of deference to his family. He says, hey, man, I got an idea. Let's go camping. And I'm like, camping, Toby? Are you nuts, man? Neither one of us, we were both city kids. I mean, he grew up in Flint, Michigan. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. I'd never been camping in my life. And he hadn't either. And I'm like, all right, man, what's up with this? Where did you come up with this idea? And he's like, no, think about it. Because he knew I was an amateur photographer. I had a little dark room set up in my house. And I had a nice new Yashica camera with a nice set of lenses. And, but Toby and I, we both lived on the base at Whiteman Air Force Base. And in 1977, it was a SAC base, Strategic Air Command base, with a squadron of B-52s armed with nukes, and then a squadron of Minutemen II ICBM missiles spread out all over the countryside. And when you live, we lived in NCO housing, and when you live on a nuclear base, there's not a lot you can do with your camera. There's just not a lot of opportunities to take pictures. So I wanted to photograph some wildlife. He knew that, and he says, look. And he was an amateur astronomer. And long story short, he made a good case for going to Devil's Den. He says, man, this is the spot. This is the place to go. And I went. We went. We planned this trip, and, we bought a cheap tent, air mattresses, swiped some blankets from the hospital, and drove 6.5 hours south from Whiteman Air Force Base to Devil's Den State Park, which is in the northwest corner of Arkansas. And on the way down, I'm like, I guess we got to get a camping permit. And my buddy's like, no, man, we don't want to stay in a campsite. He said, if you stay in the campground, you're going to have people on either side of you. You might as well be camping at Walmart's parking lot or something. Plus there's children and other undesirables running around. He says, let's go find a place of our own. Let's be real outdoorsmen here. Let's go find a place of our own. Something high, up on a hill where he could look at the sky with no light pollution, and I could get some pictures of wildlife during the daytime. So we dodged the ranger station and the welcome center and drove the paved road till it was a gravel road, till it was a dirt road. And then we came to a chain across the road that pretty sternly said, no admittance, keep out, no hunting, no camping, no hiking, no fishing, no admittance. It was pretty clear you weren't welcome. And I saw the chain across the road and I said, I guess we got to go find someplace else, because we could see a nice plateau out in the distance. And my friend says, no, man, wait a minute. And he hops out of the car And what they'd done is they'd taken this chain and just looped it on itself with a padlock and then draped it over this post on the opposite side of the road. And he just lifted it up and dropped it to the ground, and it fell to the ground. And we were like, woohoo, we felt like Lewis and Clark. We drove in, and in retrospect, it kind of this sounds funny, but it kind of seemed like Toby knew where to go. And he did have an unerring sense of direction. I mean, this guy knew north from south. I mean, he wouldn't get lost. But it was weird because he guided me right up this road, and we crested this hill, and there was a big open meadow. And it was absolutely gorgeous. I think I may have sent you some photos of it. It's still there. It's still there. And we pulled up and set up our camp right next to the tree line. And I'm going to cut through some facts here and get to the evening. And we did all the fun stuff you do when you camp, and cook hot dogs and all that stuff. And we're sitting back on these air mattresses, and it's fully dark out now. It's a beautiful night. The sky is just full of a trillion stars, and he's pointing out different constellations, and we're just having a nice time. And I remember saying, hey man, I see the allure in this. I see why people do this. This is really pretty cool. And he said, yeah, I told you, And we're talking, and there's a lull in our conversation, and it kind of goes quiet. And I realized that just 15 minutes earlier, there was so much noise from the crickets and the tree frogs. And I know this sounds cliche, like out of a movie, but I swear to God, it's absolutely true. It went from being loud out there to dead silent. And not only did it turn dead silent, it was still. I mean, we had a nice little breeze going on, and we lost that. And the only thing I could hear was the campfire crackle now and then. But it was still. And, it unnerved me. Had I been there by myself, I'd have been in my car and got out of there. I really would have.
Of course.
And
there's not. You know what? There's nothing more eerie than standing in the forest and all of a sudden everything goes silent. Doesn't matter if it's day or night. It is freaky. We've had that happen around here. Continue, please.
Yes. And I asked my friend, I say, hey, Tobe, is this normal, man? Like he'd know, And he says, yeah, we've been laughing and cutting up, making a lot of noise. The crickets, the tree frogs, they'll all be back. Just, give them some time. They'll come back. And, but I wasn't so sure. And it was probably about 15 minutes later, he turns his head to the left and he asked me, he says, hey, Terry, were those lights there before? And I have to strain to look over his left shoulder. And on the horizon, there was this perfect little triangle of 3 stars. And they were too far off the horizon to have been like from a parking lot or besides, we were really out there. We were in some remote area. It couldn't have been a train. It was static. It was just sitting there. And, but again, we didn't know what it was. And each star was about as bright as the North Star. So it was pretty bright. And while we're talking about it, and it's pointed up, it's got the base of the triangle parallel with the horizon and then the point up toward the sky. And while we're talking about this thing, it moves. And what it does is it rotated real slow, like it was turning on an axis, and did about a 3/4 turn and stopped. And then it started to climb up into the air. And it started moving straight up. And we could see there were so many stars out that the sky had a blue tint to it. And the area inside these 3 stars was jet black. And that's the first time I noticed. I had gone from feeling uneasy about the silence and the stillness in the forest. And then I felt this like wave of calm wash over me. And it really was almost like sedation. And all that anxiety and nervousness I had about the forest, it's all gone. And we're just watching this thing. And I'm in a really strange place. I mean, I'm in a really strange frame of mind. I mean, I'm not scared. But I don't feel like a participant. I feel more like I'm an observer. I don't know how to explain it, other than we're just watching this thing and relaxed. And we watched this thing climb into the sky. It climbed up, straight up, and gained some altitude, and then started to descend. And it did. We could see it was plainly coming in our direction and getting bigger as it did. And the 3 points of light, expanded, always equidistant to one another. It just, obviously it was one object, not three separate objects choreographed. And this thing tumbled, where it would do, like the apex of the triangle would twist over and bend, and you'd see 2 lights, then 3 lights for a second, then a full triangle, and you kind of get the idea. And I don't know where I got the idea from, but I got the idea that this thing wasn't just tumbling out of control. It was moving with purpose. And it was moving with purpose, and it was coming to us. And, there's hardly a word spoken between us. I mean, I think my buddy said something to the effect of, it's really moving now. I mean, something, like that. I don't recall saying anything. And we watched this triangular shadow from the starlight move across the forest below us, because we were up on this plateau in this meadow. And this thing was absolutely enormous, Dave. It was like a Walmart. I mean, it was like a city block long on each leg of the triangle, and deep. It wasn't, people say, oh, you saw one of those T3CBs or whatever they're called. No. Not this. This thing was 5 stories tall. And it had a light bar that ran up and down the point of each triangle. And it parked. We were kind of off to the side by the tree line, and it parked right over the meadow. So we weren't underneath it. We were just right beside it, kind of. And it came to a stop, and we're just looking at it. And from underneath this thing, there came a light. And it was like this white light. Like, you ever seen a searchlight that cuts through fog? You can see a visible beam. That's what this was like. It was about 6 inches in diameter. And it was just like someone flipped a switch, it turned on, and landed right square in the middle of our campfire. And I'm looking at it, Toby's looking at it, we look at each other, and no discussion about it. We watch it, and it's there for maybe 60 seconds, and then it flips off. It's gone. And then immediately, there came this laser thing. Now, this is 1977. Lasers were out, but they weren't real common. I had never seen one except on television. And this laser beam came from the center of this triangle, and it would land at a spot in our campsite, stay there for 1/10 of a second, and then reappear in another place for 1/10 of a second, and then do that over and over and over again. And it danced all around the campsite. I mean, it struck me in the chest a couple times. I didn't feel anything. I know it hit my friend Toby. It hit our tent, hit our car. And I had the feeling, hey, this thing's checking us out. That was the vibe that I had, that this thing is checking us out. And that lasted 3 minutes or so. That lasted a little bit longer. And then it turned off. And I remember feeling sleepy. I just felt so sleepy. All I wanted to do was go to bed. And Toby was having the same thought. He stood up and he said, "Show's over." And he grabbed his blanket and his inflatable air mattress and threw them inside the tent on the right side. And he dove in and fell face down on this mattress. And I didn't bother to take off my boots, which would become important later. But I didn't bother to unlace my boots or take my shirt off or anything. I just threw my air mattress in and followed suit with Toby, and I wanted my head near the front of the opening of the tent where he was the other way around. And that's the way that we were. And the last thing I remember was, Toby, you were wrong because the crickets and the tree frogs never did come back. And then I was out. And I was out for 4 some hours. Our watches both had stopped at 2:41. Had no memory, or at least I had no memory at all when I first woke up. I woke up, there were these crazy lights coming through the canvas of the tent, lighting the tent up. I mean, like a ballpark at night, man. It was just really like an old school flash bulb on a camera, really very bright. And during one of these flashes, I looked down and I noticed my boots are undone. And I'm like, that's crazy. And I took one of my boots off and my socks on sideways. Well, you know, military kind of drills it into you. You got to take care of your feet, right? I mean, I would never do that. So I'm annoyed, and I put my socks on right, and I put my boots on and laced them up. And I'm still kind of in a fog. And I'm thinking, these lights, man, that must be like a park ranger's truck, you know, the overhead lights on a park ranger's truck, here to kick us out of the park, maybe. And in one of these flashes of light, I could see that Toby, my friend, is on his knees, and he's peeking out this tent. And in a bright flash of white light, I could see there were tear tracks down his eyes, and he'd been crying. And that scared me. And then all of that sedation, all of that, you know, almost apathy, disinterest that I had, that was all gone. I was scared now because I could not imagine what in the world could move this guy to tears. And I'm like, Toby, what is it, man? Is it park rangers? And he just said, shh, be quiet. And I got to my knees and I looked out the flap of my tent on my side, and I could see two things: that this giant triangle had descended. Last night, when it stopped over our heads, it was about 3,000 feet in the air, I'm guessing. And overnight, it had descended, and this thing's now about 30 feet, you know, over this meadow. And it's enormous. And then the second thing I noticed was I saw what I took to be little kids, you know, maybe a dozen or 15 of them. And they're just walking around this meadow. And they walk with an unusual, they're all walking funny. They walk with an unusual gait, you know, like their feet are sore or something.
Yes.
And I'm like, Toby, what the hell are these kids doing out here in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night? And he said, Terry, man, those ain't no little kids. They're not human beings, Terry. Look at them.
You got aliens.
We had aliens. We had aliens. We did. And there was we watched them for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. And we're so scared. We're just peeking out of this tent. We're afraid to move. My friend's hyperventilating. And then there came, from underneath this thing, there was another light that came on. And this was a column of that white light, maybe 25 feet in diameter, but a perfect column. And it came down from the middle of the ship. I didn't hear any noise. And these little guys, in pairs and threes, would wander into this light and just dissolve. And they were gone. And we watched them as they, you know, all kind of headed back, walked into the light, and just disappeared. And when the last two little guys disappeared, the light turned off, and the lights on the points of the triangle, which had been green and yellow and white, now switched to all white. And this thing took off. And it didn't take off like a rocket. It just kind of lifted off like a hot air balloon and made a slight turn and rotation and just rose up into the sky. And the higher it went, the faster it went. And we watched it, and it was three lights again, and then it was one light, and then it was gone. And we're sitting in the tent, and it's still dead quiet outside. And I know this sounds crazy, but all I had over my head was canvas. But I felt like I had cover. I did not want to be out in the open to run to the car. I was content just to sit there till daylight, to be honest with you. But my friend's like, man, we got to get out of here. And he was right. It was the right thing to do. And, to this day, I have a fear of open spaces. I mean, I will walk a half a mile out of my way to avoid having to walk across an open field. I just feel vulnerable still. So we ran to my car. I had my keys and my wallet. Toby had a flashlight. We got in the car, and I said, man, it's dark out here. You sure you can get me out of here, without breaking an axle? We back to the road. He's like, yeah, I got this. And he was able to guide me out of the park. And we were hurting so bad. I had never been so thirsty in my life. Whatever they did to me, they gave him a double measure, because Toby was really in a lot of pain, and he's kind of curled up in a fetal position on the big bench seat of this old Chevy. Just kind of, there's no way he could have drove a car. Then the sun came up, and it was like, man, it was like somebody threw sand in my eyes. And I had this sunburn all over my body. And I don't know how that happened, because I wasn't out in the sun. I mean, I wore a cap. We weren't, there's just no way we should have been sunburned. But we were both burned. I had sunburn under my arms, the soles of my feet. I mean, every inch of my body was sunburned.
That's almost the same as Stefan Mikulek up here at Falcon Lake in Manitoba.
Had a similar experience? Did he?
Yeah.
The thing that with my eyes, they told me that I had what the doctor called a flash burn. He said it's like what arc welders would get if they didn't wear that mask.
Right.
And it's essentially a sunburn to the cornea of your eye.
Incredible. Terry, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. And my God, what an incredible story and an experience you have had, Terry Lovelace. Website, terrylovelace.com. The book, Incident at Devil's Den, it can be found on Amazon. Terry is a best-selling author there. We're going to be right back with more of Terry's story in the final half hour with Terry, and then we get to the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio coming up next.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website, and let's figure out what's going on together.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thieme. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
We're underway in the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, our brand new affiliate, KZAX, 94.9 FM in Bellingham, Washington, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX, 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE, 99.1 FM in Newnan, Georgia, and UPRN, 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Revolution Radio and Kingdom of Nye Radio, and as of tonight, we are also live on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Also the place where we store all of our archives for free. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Takistoscope. Takistoscope is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, has a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Terry Lovelace is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. His book, it's a bestseller, Incident at Devil's Den. This is an incredible story that Terry is getting into, and because of the magnitude of this story, we're going to skip the SOR Newswire and the thought of the Dave. Terry has agreed to stick with us right through to the end of the show because this is an amazing story, and I think we're all enjoying this one. Thank you so much, Terry. Terry's website, terrylovelace.com. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Now, right before the break, you were talking about these burns that you and Toby, your friend, had after this incident of seeing this dozen or so little grays running around you.
Yeah, well, there's more to the story. When we drove back, something was different. And I don't know what it was, but, we were tight before we made this camping trip. And I know it sounds, it baffles me, but I didn't want anything to do with the guy. And I don't understand where that emotion came from, but it was weird. And when we got back to base, we were taken to the emergency room. My wife took me, Toby's wife took him, and I had the most thorough medical examination I'd ever had in my life. And they told my wife, they gave her a bag, a big plastic bag, and they told her to go home and bring back my boots, my clothing, any rocks or anything I might have collected on this trip, anything that I brought back with me, put into the bag and bring it to the hospital. And so she brought my clothes and my boots in, and they took them. I never saw them again. I don't know what they wanted them for, but I didn't know it at the time, but I found out later we were both listed as acutely ill with dehydration. So I got IVs in each arm. And I'm in the emergency room still, and I'm told that they'll have a room for me, shortly. And the hospital commander, who I knew real well, who was a good guy, and the base commander, who I knew of but didn't know, and 2 guys I didn't know in suits, came into the emergency room into the treatment room. And the doctor stepped out, and the hospital commander said to me, and he was very formal, and he said, Sergeant Lovelace, you're to have no contact with Sergeant Tobias. That means no telephone calls, no visits in person, no notes passed between you. You're to give him nothing. He's to give you nothing. You're not to attempt contact with any of his relatives. You're not to make an attempt to contact him via a third party. On and on.
Wait a sec. The doctor told you this?
No, the base commander told me this.
Okay.
Our hospital commander told me this. The doctor stepped out, and it was just the base commander, hospital commander, and these two guys that were in civilian clothes, and the hospital commander, the guy that I knew, who was my immediate supervisor, was the one telling me this. And, it was no contact order. You're to have no contact with Senior Airman Tobias in any way, shape, or form. If you run into him at the PX, you turn around and walk the opposite way. Just weird. And he asked me, do you understand me? And I said, yes, sir, I do. I didn't. I really didn't understand why. But in a weird way, I was okay with it. Normally when two people go through some kind of shared traumatic experience, they come away from it closer. They kind of have a bond. But not so in this case. And I don't know why. But I did see my friend one last time. He got orders cut to Japan at light speed. So he's PCSing out to Japan. And despite this no contact order, my wife's driving home from the base exchange. We'd done some grocery shopping, and Toby both lived in NCO housing. He only lived about 3 blocks from me. And to get home, we drove by his house. And I asked my wife. I said, "Hey, would you stop? I just want to tell my friend goodbye." It's a really weird emotion. It's not like I wanted to hang with him anymore, but I felt like I owed him a goodbye. And, she's like, don't mess with these people. You're under an order not to have any contact with the guy. And I'm like, I know, it'll be fine. I'll be back in 4 minutes. And she pulled over, and I hopped out of the car, and I ran up to the house. Went through the front door like I'd walked through 100 times before. And here's Toby's wife walking past me, and she's packing. And she just gives me a real hard look and says, "You're not supposed to be here." And I said, I know. I just want to say goodbye to Toby. And I guess Toby heard this exchange because he came out of the bedroom and walked around the hall into the hallway, and he was just a train wreck. This is a guy that was impeccable about his appearance, and his hair was all sideways, and he had on a dirty shirt, dirty jeans, and was barefoot. I know he'd been moving, but it was just out of character for him. I wanted to embrace the guy. I thought it'd be appropriate, and I didn't. Instead, I held my hand out, and we did this awkward exchange back and forth until we finally connected and shook hands. And Toby was short. He's about 6 inches shorter than I am. And he looks up at me, and his eyes are bloodshot, and I could smell vodka on his breath. Now, this is a guy that, I never knew to drink hard liquor. And, at a barbecue, he might drink a can and a half of beer. That was it. So that was out of character for him. And I said, I understand you're going to Japan. I just wanted to say goodbye. And he ignored that and just looked up at me, and he asked, "It happened, didn't it, Terry?" And I said, "Yeah, my brother, it did. It all happened. You're not losing your mind." And he said, "Well, why?" And I'm like, Toby, I don't have a clue, man. I don't know why. And I'm just looking down at my shoes, and I just turned and I ran out of the house. And that's the last time I saw my friend. He went to Japan, and his life fell apart at this point. His wife left him. By the way, he had told his wife that this camping trip was my idea. We'd find out years later, which is why she was so
oh, wow.
So unfriendly. But she left Toby and moved back to the States and ended up marrying this long-haul trucker, a nice guy. And they stopped by to see us because my wife and her were real tight. And this is, a couple of years after we've been out, 1983 or so. And she stops by because I had tried to contact Toby in 1981, about 2 years after I got out, and I had his dad's phone number up in Michigan in Flint. And I called and I talked to the old man once, and he said Toby's not doing real well. He's on the street a lot, and he knew who I was. And I said, well, this is my number. Will you please have him call me? And I never heard from him. And so they got divorced. And a few years later, I was just starting work in the law, and I had a friend a guy who became a friend, who's an FBI agent. And we were working on a case, a criminal matter. And I asked him one day, I said, hey, I'd like to find this buddy of mine I was in the Air Force with. Think you could help find him? And he says, sure, I can find anybody. He says, as long as he's not a fugitive, I can find him. He says, give me all the info you got on him and I'll find him for you. I'm like, cool, thanks. That'd be great, man. And he says, yeah, just between us. I mean, I'm not going to, it's not a case or anything, but I'll do it as a favor. And I said, well, that's great. So about 2 weeks pass, and he says, meet me at the bar on Friday. I got news about your buddy, and I'll buy you a beer. I said, okay, fair enough. I met him, and he got real serious, and he said, I got bad news for you. Your friend is dead. And I'm like, what do you mean my friend is dead? He's 32, 33 years old, whatever, he's a young man. How was he dead? And he said, it was an automobile accident near Flint. He said, I'm very sorry. And, that was kind of devastating. But, I mean, you live with it. I mean, you think things like this happen, right? So I thought, boy, what a missed opportunity that we never got the chance to sit down and talk about what happened. The Air Force sure didn't want us to get together and talk about it. I knew that. So when I'm writing my book in 2016, I decided I wanted to look up his obit. Mm-hmm. And I found his obit. And he died in 2007. September 4th, 2007. The FBI agent lied to me. Now, I don't know if he just got lazy. I can't imagine he would get lazy and tell me my friend was dead. I mean, that's kind of an outrageous thing to do. But the information he gave me was wrong. I mean, I verified it. I mean, it was him. He was alive till September 4th, 2007. So I think that just adds a level of how much our government did not want the two of us to talk to each other. So that's the story of Toby. And
wow.
Yeah.
That is horrific. I think, like every one of our listeners right now, we're sitting here kind of jaw dropped on this, Terry. Just absolutely jaw dropped. And how old were you when this incident happened in 1977?
22 years old.
And he died and he died 30 years later.
Yeah. we had all that time that we could have, before I went to work for the government, I had a law practice in Lansing, Michigan, less than an hour from Flint. So it's just tragic. It really is. Just tragic. Because, I have questions about what happened to us that night that I'm sure he could answer, and likewise. And that's something that I talk about, and it's what happened to us when we found ourselves inside the ship, because they took us out of the tent. I don't know how they got us out of the tent and into this thing, but they did somehow. And it was crazy because the inside of this thing was bigger than the outside. I don't know if they took us someplace else or if that's some manipulation of the laws of physics, but this thing looked like a giant office building from the outside. On the inside, it looked like a football stadium. And I just had trouble reconciling that. Like I say, I don't know if they took us someplace else or what. But I was aware that I was standing and I can't move. Just like Calvin Parker, all I can move is my eyes. And my eyes are darting all over the place because I'm freaked out and I'm trying to take in as much as I can. I'm trying to get grounded and figure out where I am and what's going on. And I'm mildly confused, and I remember, oh yeah, we're camping. What am I doing here? And then I remembered the thing over the tent, and then I knew, and then I was scared, and I was standing there. I'm holding my clothes and my boots in my hand. They had undressed us both, and I was aware. I couldn't turn my head, but I was aware that Toby was next to me, and I remember hearing a woman screaming. And you can jump out and grab somebody and say boo and they'll scream. But there's a different character of scream that goes with pain. And this was a sharp, shrill, it was a pain scream. And that did nothing to make me at ease. The inside of this thing was just massive. It was like a huge atrium, and there were walkways all around, going up multiple stories. There were little gray guys like running all over the place. I saw what looked like a golf cart without wheels. I saw on the same deck that we were on, there were 3 flying saucers parked in a line. Like planes below a carrier deck, just lined up. And what looked like garage doors. And there was this guy that all the little guys. I have a theory about these little gray guys that we ran into, and I don't think I don't think they're living sentient beings like you and I. I think they're some kind of combination of artificial intelligence and maybe some biological matter and quantum computing or nanotechnology or whatever you can think of. But I don't think they're alive in the way you and I are. And there was a guy there that appeared to be, he carried himself with authority like he was in charge. He was 6 foot tall or maybe a little over. He wore a gray, tight-fitting uniform. And he didn't have a gray complexion at all. His complexion was pinkish white. But he had no ears, just 2 holes for nostrils, a slit for a mouth, no hair. And his eyes were black and big, but not grotesquely big like you see in the motion pictures. These were just like a pair of Ray-Bans that wrap around. And I'm straining my eyes to the left as far as I can to look at him. And just by happenstance, he turns his head and we locked eyes. And this is one of my most frequent nightmares. As a matter of fact, of all the things that I saw on the ship and all the things there that scared me, this was the most terrifying part of the whole thing. And that was the second that we locked eyes, this guy was in my head. I mean, he was in my head. I mean, he knew me, he knew my dreams, my secrets, my wife. He knew everything about me. It was like he downloaded my head, you know? And his eyes were just, you know, you got a dog.
Yes.
You know, your dog will come over and put his head in your lap, and
yes,
you pat him on the head, and he looks up at you with those big eyes, and he recognizes that you're the alpha, and he knows his role, and it's subservient. And when I locked eyes with this guy, I felt like I was the dog. That's the best way to describe it.
No kidding.
And then I became aware that Toby was gone. And then I heard him scream, and I heard him scream, oh my God, no, and then scream. And then I'm really upset because I know my turn's coming. And then I saw these other human beings on board this thing. There were maybe 15, 20. It was hard to say. They were lined up in neat rows, and they're all just like us, holding their clothing in their hands. And they're a mixed bag of men, women, and children. And I can see that, like us, their eyes are darting all over the place. And they're all crying. And then I also saw what looked to be human beings in uniform. And there were about 6 of them, 5 men and 1 woman. They were young. They were like us. I mean, 19, 20-year-old kids, military haircuts, combat boots, tan flight suits with an orange insignia. Weird. I didn't recognize, but they sure looked human, and they would not look at us. And one of them was a girl, a petite, she looked to be Latino maybe, with a ponytail.
Yeah.
And
Terry, hold that thought right there, because we're going to escape for a break here at the bottom of the hour. And thankfully, you're going to continue this story when we come back here on Spaced Out Radio. Terry Lovelace, an incredible story tonight. This is probably one we're all going to have to go back and listen to the archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Terry's website, terrylovelace.com, his book, Incident at Devil's Den. If this doesn't get the hairs up on your body, I don't know what will. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemann. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Toby TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thorne, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today. We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. By the way, you could use that same address now because we are live on YouTube. So check it on out. Thank you so much, Will. I see you on there. Thank you for what you did in the super chat. Muchly appreciated. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can check those out while you're listening to the show. If you just tuned in, you have missed an amazing, amazing night. Terry Lovelace is our guest tonight. We're talking about his book, Incident at Devil's Den. This is quite the story in regards to his ET abduction back in 1977. Terry's website is terrylovelace.com. Terry, welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
I don't even know where to start, my friend. I really don't even know where to start with this, because what you said right before the break was absolutely gut-wrenching about your friend Toby, that you were told after all these years that he was dead and he didn't die until later on in life. You got screwed out of a friendship there by what sounds like the United States Air Force. And, you know, that is horrific. How have you been able to cope with all of this?
You know, I miss my friend. And I really regret that we never had the opportunity to get together and talk about this. But, you know, I don't think they wanted that to happen. You know, two people are credible. You know, one person is only half as credible. So, you know, we would have bolstered each other's stories and told the truth, and you know, it would have been maybe hard to dispute, you know.
Have you ever found out, Terry, if they told Toby the same thing about you, that you were dead?
I had no idea. I you know what, that thought actually has not crossed my mind. I assumed, you know, I heard from his ex-wife, we heard from his ex-wife that, you know, that he had some problems and that was not doing well and was deteriorating. And I just assumed that was more the reason. But who knows?
That's a trip, man.
We had an unusual experience. And that was, this may have something to do with that. Pardon me. He says, well, we were hospitalized for a couple days for our burns and dehydration. And when they kicked us out of the hospital commander came in with this doctor and gave me this really weird talk. And he says, you know, we found out the reason for your burns. We believe that there was some naturally occurring radium in the limestone that you guys laid on. And he says, you know, it's clear that you didn't use sunscreen. And but you know, nobody needs to know about this. There's no reason to talk about it. It's, you know, it was your mistake and your fault, and it's nobody's business. And he said, you know, some of the medication we gave you will give you funny dreams sometimes. And he says, if you have them, just ignore them and they'll go away. Well, he was half right. I did have some funny dreams, but they didn't go away. And it's just an odd conversation. They discharged us from the hospital with what I refer to in my book as a bucket of pills. They gave us this massive amount of capsules to take. And we were supposed to take one with every meal, 3 a day. And there was a nurse that would come by my house in the evening, right after dinner, about 6 o'clock in the evening, 6:30. She wore no name tag. And she was all business, never took my blood pressure, never asked how I felt. All she did was she had a little tray she dumped my pills into, counted them, made a mark on a notebook, closed it up, put the pills back in the bottle and said good evening, and left. And about 4 days after taking these pills, maybe a little more than 3, I'm losing it. I can't find my car keys. I'm watching cartoons. I'm just out of it. And my wife says, I think those pills are making you goofy. And I said, I don't know. Maybe you're right. And she says, stop taking them. And I did. And what I started doing was, after every meal, I'd flush one down the toilet. I wish I'd saved just one of those pills. Man, I never thought that far, though. So my pill count was always right. She never asked to watch me swallow it. She just did the pill count.
Right.
But I know how goofy those things made me. I can imagine what they may have done to my friend's mind if he took those things for full 14 days.
I got to ask you this. You mentioned that you had talked to Toby's ex-wife, and this leads to Ted's question in YouTube. Did she ever have a conversation with you in regards to what had happened again? Or have any of his family, I don't know if they had children or not, but even his extended family, has anybody ever reached out to you regarding this?
No, but I made an attempt to reach out to them. And that was kind of a bittersweet encounter. At the time, she didn't know where Toby was, and this was before I found out that he was deceased. This was the first time I tried to contact him back in the early 80s. And then when I went to write the book, all those years later, I thought, well, I want to make sure that everybody's cool with me telling this story, and whether I should use his real name or not. And because of she didn't change her name, and the children still have it's a long story, but she asked me not to use her name, and I can understand that, and I respect that. We had that after I found out that he was deceased. In 2016, I made the effort to contact her, and she said, yeah, he died 9 years ago. So that was validation.
Wow.
I found the right guy.
My goodness. Do you think the Air Force knew they were there?
I do. I'll tell you how I know. They sent these 2 OSI agents in to interrogate us. OSI, for maybe somebody's listening and doesn't know, OSI stands for Office of Special Investigations. In the United States Air Force, they have what's called the security police, and then within the security police, there is the OSI. So the OSI is to the Air Force what NCIS is to the Navy, if that makes sense, so the investigative branch. And these 2 plainclothes guys in blue business suits came to see me when I was in the hospital. And this guy, I don't know if you've ever spoken to Calvin Parker. He has this thick Louisiana.
Not yet.
He's got this thick Louisiana accent. And this guy, this major, he showed me his credentials, and he was a major. And the other guy was a captain, a younger guy in his 30s. This guy had that weird Louisiana accent. And he came in, they showed me credentials, and I said, sir, am I in some kind of trouble? And he said, son, would we be here if you weren't in trouble? And then him and the captain laugh, And I'll kind of cut to the chase here. There was kind of I'm thinking, what did we do? Did we burn the forest down? What's the big deal here? And he said, our mistake was we didn't put that chain back up, because the park rangers found that chain down and went in and found our campsite, and we left everything there, including our backpack, Toby's backpack with his name and address on the base in it. So park rangers found that, called the base and said, looks like 2 of your airmen were down here camping. They got a little campsite set up and everything's here. Looks like they're planning on coming back. So this guy says, son, why would you set up a campsite without planning on coming back? He said, I don't buy that. And I wasn't going to tell him I saw a UFO. I knew that wouldn't end well.
Right.
So I told him, I said, hey, look, we went to bed sick as dogs, and we woke up and we were even sicker, and we just decided to leave because we were so sick. And he said, you and your buddy got a little marijuana plot out there? Is that what this is all about? And I'm thinking, oh my God, because 1977, that would have meant time in Leavenworth. I mean, that would have been really bad news. And what if somebody out there had, by happenstance, had, a marijuana plot, or there were marijuana plants? I mean, my mind's racing. So anyway, he ends this interrogation. I'm thoroughly intimidated. He reads me my rights. I don't know what I'm charged with, if anything, or even suspected of. And the captain leaves the room. The nurse came in, gave me a shot. She left the room. And the head of my bed was near the door. And he put his hand against the door. And he wore this tough guy face, this tough guy affect. And he kind of drops that for a moment and then just looks like an average 50-year-old guy, right? And he gets down next to my ear and he says, son, I know, and you two knuckleheads stumbled onto something out there, didn't you? And I didn't answer him. And he said, oh, I think you know what I mean. I know you know what I mean. And all I want to know is, how many pictures did you take of it? And I want your film and your camera. And this will all go away. And I said, sir, I didn't. I mean, neither one of us had the thought to take a photograph. God, I wish I had. I wish I'd taken 100, But no, never crossed our mind. I said, sir, I didn't take any. Turns the tough guy face back on, says, I don't believe you. And then he left. So he knew. I don't know how he knew, but he knew. I'm convinced.
I believe you when you say the camera, that you didn't take a photo. You didn't even think about it.
Nope.
And what's funny is on a strange example, when I was driving home from UFO Con, I've never seen elk before. And I'm coming through the mountains because that's the way I got to go home. Coming through the mountains, and in my high beams, I see about 20 elk about 100 yards in front of me. So wow. I slow down right on the highway and I watch. And David Weatherly, I don't know if you know who David is, but he's a fantastic investigator and researcher and author. When I told him this story, he goes, did you take a picture? And I said, no. He goes, why not? I said, I just wanted to enjoy the moment. Didn't even think about it. He goes, same as experiencers. We just want to let it soak into our minds that we are having that real life experience. So I believe you when you say you didn't take any photos.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I meant when I said that I felt more like an observer than a participant. I would call it like almost like a mild disinterest, just short of apathy, just kind of watching the thing play out. So, yeah.
Well, I want to ask you this. Considering you were visited by the men in blue instead of the men in black, have you ever seen any of those gentlemen again who came to get your statement?
Yes. I saw them a second time about 6 weeks later when I was called into the OSI office for an interrogation. That's when I found out that when I was in the hospital, they laid out forms for me to sign on my tray table. And I signed a consent. I asked him, I said, sir, what are these? I mean, my eyes, I can barely see. And he said, son, these are waivers and consent forms. These give us the right, you waive certain rights, and this gives us the right to take a look in your home and make sure you don't have a big bag of marijuana in your home. You don't have a big bag of marijuana in your home, do you, son? And I said, no, sir. He says, well, you don't have anything illegal, do you? You don't have anything, photographs of nuclear sites or firearms or anything you're not supposed to have. You don't have anything like that, do you? I said, no, sir. He said, well, then you wouldn't mind if I take a look. We'll just take a look around. I'm not going to hurt anything. So, interesting, they took my car and kept it for 2 days, brought it back to me detailed. I mean, there was no armor on the wheels, but I mean, other than that, this car was clean. They came into the house. They said they had a consent to search. They gave my wife a copy of the form that I signed and scared the hell out of her. And they went into my dark room and went through all my negatives and all my prints. And like I said, you can't take a lot of pictures when you live on a nuclear base, but I had a nice big telephoto lens, and I took some cool pictures of the moon. They took every picture of the moon that I had and the negative. So they
damn military.
They did a hypnosis. One of the forms I signed was captioned consent to hypnotic regression with chemical enhancement or something like that. And what they did was they gave me a drug called sodium amytal. And I resisted the hypnosis as best as I could. But the drug I had no control over.
Right.
And
basically that truth serum we hear all about.
Yeah. Sodium amytal, it's a short-acting hypnotic. So they have to keep giving it to you. But boy, it'll take you back. It sure took me back. I remember the first thing he asked me, he says, you and Toby went on a little camping trip, didn't you? I said, yes, sir. And he says, and you saw some funny lights in the sky. And I said, yeah. And he says, but they weren't funny lights, were they, Terry? And I said, no, they weren't. And he said, tell me who they were, Terry. And I said, they were the space people. And I could not believe that came out of my mouth. I mean, I was stunned that came out of my mouth. But when he's asking me questions, I'm seeing this stuff again in my mind's eye with clarity, And he brought up some memories that had he not brought up, I don't think I'd have remembered. So,
wow.
But the thing they asked me at the end of this, they put me through all of this, and what did you see? What did you hear? And I told them, and then the question was, when you spoke to these agents, you said you didn't take any photographs. Is that the truth? And I said, yes, sir. And he says, it's true that you didn't take a single picture. And I said, that's true. I did not take a single picture. And he says, why didn't you take a picture? I said, I never thought of it. And he seemed satisfied with that. And then that was it, And then the OSI agent said, well, we'll close your file. You can go back to work. And I went back to work, finished my enlistment, and got out. Went to school.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Are you still affected today?
Well,
by the military? We only got about a minute here.
No, not by the military. The military was a job, more or less. I mean, I was fortunate. I was never in a combat situation or anything where I was in real danger. I mean, we worked some plane crashes that were kind of dangerous, but but the only thing I have is PTSD from compliments of ET.
Oh yeah. I want to bring you on again because to me, with the humans on there that looked in military uniforms, that almost sounds like a MyLab or an MK Ultra scenario. But we're going to have to do that once again. We're just going to have to check it on out. Terry Lovelace, what a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio tonight. The honor is all of ours to hear your incredible story, Incident at Devil's Den, which can be found on Amazon, and your website, terrylovelace.com. Wow, my friend. Absolutely wow. You made my jaw drop quite a bit tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure to be your guest. I appreciate it.
All right, my friend. You hold on here for a second, because I got to start to wrap this thing up here.
I'm not going anywhere.
Big thanks to Terry Lovelace. We're going to do the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave tomorrow on Facebook and Twitter. So make sure you check that on out. We really appreciate it. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god of self. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Special thanks to everybody in our chat rooms tonight on Revolution Radio, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, the SOR Space Travelers Club at our website, everybody in YouTube, and the Snarkers and Snarkettes on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for sharing your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a great night, everybody. Varla Ventura, Thursday night. We're getting into the cryptid world. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Come join us everywhere, including YouTube. Have a great night. Good night.